I'm ready to go. Yeah. Just do that.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to give everyone just a few more moments to join us for our session this afternoon. We're so excited to have all of you joining us. We'll just start in a few more minutes. I'll allow the rest of you to join us. I hope everyone's having a wonderful afternoon. It is sunny here in central Pennsylvania. Hopefully it's nice where you are as well. All right, it looks like most people have probably joined us by now, so we'll get started. Good afternoon. My name is Andrea Castle-Bretz. I am the Executive Assistant of PACAC, and on behalf of PACAC, the Pennsylvania Association for College Admission Counseling, we are so excited to host this with StriveScan, the virtual college exploration. PACAC is a nonprofit organization. We have 1,200 members. They're high school counselors, college counselors, independent consultants, and we do everything we can to help you, the students, find your way from high school to a post-secondary education. Just a few housekeeping things, and then I'm going to give it right over to our three panelists today. First of all, you have the opportunity of asking questions. Anytime you have a question, feel free to type those questions into the Q&A box. The panelists will do their best to answer them verbally and or write you specifically, privately, your answer or their answers. Your microphones and cameras are off, but again, you have that Q&A section. And don't forget that these sessions are recorded. So if you want to go back to this session later, or if there's a session that looks really great, but you might miss it for one reason or another, know that they are recorded. Just like right now, we are recording live. It might take about a week to get those recordings up, but they will be on our website, pacac.org/virtual. And be sure to go back there. We have lots more sessions between now and November 6th. So make sure that you go back there and sign up for as many as you like. So again, thank you for joining us. And I'm going to turn it over to our panelists today.
Good afternoon. My name is John Cogan, and I am one of the first-year admissions counselors at the University of Delaware. I am a proud alum of UD as well, and I'm one of the three panelists for this presentation. I'm going to let the other two panelists introduce themselves as well.
Hi, everyone. My name is Samantha Murray. I am an assistant director at Cabrini University and also a graduate of Cabrini University in 2017, where I received my bachelor's in history and English.
And good afternoon, everyone. As the old man of the group, my name is Justin Ossont. I'm the Assistant Director of Admissions at Lycoming College. I'm a graduate of the school, graduated from here in 2013 with a degree in corporate communications. So these guys kind of picked a pretty good fit because I love to talk, and especially about Lycoming, but I'll turn it back over to John.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for joining us today. We're so excited to have you here. We're going to go over a couple different things. First, we're going to each talk about our personal experiences of looking for a college, how it all went, the tips and tricks that we personally have. Then we're going to talk about how everyone should be doing it in 2020, as this has been such a unique year in the way that we have to review everything that we want to do when it comes to a college education, where we want to go, how far we want to go, and all those important pieces to your application process. And then finally, we will have a time for us to sit back and take your answers in, answer anything that you are asking us. So we're really excited to have you all today. Please feel free to throw your questions in the Q&A section now, and then we'll get to them once we are at the Q&A section. So I will go first. My personal experience when it came to applying to college was that I was the oldest of the family, and My parents really didn't know how this whole college admission process was supposed to work, how it was all supposed to go. But I knew personally, just from talking to friends and talking to older relatives, that I had a general idea that I wanted a medium to large size school. I didn't want something where it was so small that I knew everyone, but I didn't want to go to a school that was so large that there were too many people and the professor would never get to know my name. So that was really beneficial to my family and I, because we could then target this a bit of a more specific area. I also knew that I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. I needed an undeclared program that wasn't just housed within a specific college. I wanted an undeclared program that really focused on me as a person and pointed me in the right direction. So it was a really great way to figure out all of these different aspects in a way that kind of made sense to me. Sorry, words. It's a Tuesday and it's virtual, so there's going to be a lot of this. So really, when I was looking for all these, you can see a list of different things on the screen. The first thing I did was made a pro-con list of all the different items that I would want, and whether this was very much a pro to a college or a drawback to a college, and also made a list of just, did the school even offer it? I was able to break it down by the time I visited high schools, visited colleges for in-person tours, for college fairs, for open houses and all those different kind of ways of being able to interact with the school. I was able to break it down to about 7 different schools that I applied to, which in my personal opinion is probably a sweet spot, maybe a little bit on the higher end, but like, I think 7 was a good fit for me because it let me pick a good array of different schools, get a lot of different options when it came to scholarship packages and interest and all those kinds of things. But it didn't restrict me to just 1 or 2 options because I was so undeclared that I had no idea what I wanted to do. After receiving the decisions that I was hoping for, I was very fortunate that I was actually admitted to all 7 schools that I applied to. So in some ways that's really exciting because I got lots of options, but in other ways I was a little, because I was hoping for at least 1 denial. So I had 1 less school that I had to pick from. But I ended up contacting a lot of my admissions counselors as ways to kind of figure out more in depth about what I was actually going to be able to have access to if I decided to come to their school. I also tried to go to some schools' admitted student days and really talked with my family about what I wanted and what that kind of balanced with what they were hoping for me to be able to accomplish. One of the really funny things that I always like to share with people is that 2 of the biggest deciding factors were things that the admissions office had literally no control over. The first of which was weather. I was admitted to the University of Vermont, and I attempted to go to multiple of their admitted student days, and every time I tried to go, they had a blizzard. And so I realized that maybe I didn't want to go to the University of Vermont, because as much as I love snow, because I am a New Englander at heart, I don't want snow to the level of blizzards on multiple weekends while I'm studying for classes. So that took off a couple of the schools. And then when I broke it down to my final 2 decisions, I actually flipped a coin. And that may sound like an odd choice, but there is actually a science to it. If you flip a coin and you're happy with the decision, that means you subconsciously probably wanted that decision. I flipped the coin and was not happy with my decision. And so I chose the option that was on the other side of the coin, which happened to be the University of Delaware. And so really that allowed for me to kind of feel confident in my decision, because I knew that this was what I really wanted in my heart, and whether my brain was fully able to process it at the time was up for debate. But it was the decision that I went with, and I ended up spending 4 years doing a lot of things, as you can see listed on the While on Campus section. I was really able to feel like this was the place for me. This was the experience I wanted to participate in, and I really don't regret it at all. I do want to also plug that after I graduated from the university, I ended up being able to continue my passions of working with students introducing students to the world of college by working at Drexel for a year and a half, where I got to meet one of my fantastic panelists, Samantha Murray. And I spent a year and a half there before being able to get the opportunity to come back to UD as an admissions counselor. And I am passionate about it. And I really do love the fact that I get to tell stories about my alma mater, because I think that just makes it so much more exciting when I talk about our experience. I am going to turn it over to Samantha now, who is going to be able to share her experience.
Hi, so thanks, John. So when I was a senior in high school, I knew of a number of things. I'm from Havertown, Pennsylvania, so I knew right off the bat that I wanted to stay relatively close to home. I only looked at in-state institutions within approximately 2 hours at most away from my house. And with that, I was looking at a mixture of both private and public institutions. At the time, I thought I wanted to go into education, so I was looking at schools in the Pennsylvania area within that distance that were really known for education. So Cabrini was definitely being one of them, but I was also looking at schools like Westchester, Elizabethtown, Shippensburg, Millersville, Arcadia, Albright, etc. My parents, as also being a first-generation college student, were very aware of the financial aspect of investing in a college education, and they wanted to make sure that when I made my decision, I was not only making the right decision for me in terms of what the school was going to offer, but that it was also going to make the most sense financially. So all of my decision making and my process was really focusing in on financially, does this school make the best choice and is the right fit for myself? I toured all of the schools that I was looking at. I believe I applied to about 12 different colleges and universities, which was a lot looking back on it, but I liked different aspects of all the different schools that I was looking at, and really I just wanted to see what all of the schools were going to be able to offer in terms of financial aid packages and scholarships and different opportunities in that sense. Once I received all of my acceptances, I then went back and did additional admitted student day events, specific overnight experiences where I stayed overnight with current students at the college and university, or I shadowed classes in my particular major. Like I said, I thought at the time I wanted to be a secondary ed teacher, so I was shadowing education courses as well as potential history courses. Now, looking back, the funny thing about my personal experience is that Cabrini at the time was not my first choice. And I laugh about that now because now I work for my alma mater, and I could not imagine what my life would have been like if I didn't go to Cabrini. But at first, I was unsure of going to a Catholic institution. While I was raised Catholic personally, I went to public high school, and I wasn't really sure what a Catholic institution would be like. Was it going to be like a Catholic high school experience, or was it going to be more broad? And it turns out, even though Cabrini was a Catholic institution, they certainly did not force anybody to practice Catholicism. But at the time, I was really unsure. But again, when it came time for me to make that decision, my parents sort of sat me down and they said, based on, our financial abilities and what we would be able to help you with, as well as making sure that you're going to be leaving, after your 4 years without a ton of student loan debt, these are pretty much your options. You can either go to a smaller private school like Cabrini for 2 years and live on campus, and then commute to that institution for 2 years, or you can go to a public institution like Westchester and live on campus for all 4 years. The final straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak, for me was that I was accepted into Cabrini's honors program, which not only gave me a really nice additional merit scholarship, but included different opportunities that I wasn't going to be able to get at other institutions. So that's where I ended up. And as I can say, and as John and Justin will say it was the best decision that I could have ever made. As a student at Cabrini, I was able to get involved in so many different aspects of student life. I was in our theater program. I was a student ambassador, an intern in our admissions office. I was an orientation coordinator where I planned our orientation program for incoming freshmen. And I got to do so many other different service projects and research opportunities that really just catered to what I ended up going into. And obviously I did not graduate with a secondary ed degree. Very quickly into my freshman experience, I realized that education was certainly not my forte, and I decided to continue on into history, picking up an additional bachelor's in English, a lot of that being just having really great connections with the faculty and them sort of guiding me. But as John said, after graduating, I knew I wanted to continue my passion for higher education. I loved working in my admissions office and feeling like I made a small difference in a student's decision to come to Cabrini. So I actually got a job at Drexel University, shout out to the Dragons, and I worked there from August of 2017 till February of 2019, where I then transitioned to Cabrini University, where, as John had mentioned, I am now an assistant director. So yeah, that is my experience as a former student at Cabrini.
Awesome. Thank you, Sam, for the introduction. Left me hanging there for a second. I have to make fun of
Sorry
it.
about that.
That's okay. So my experience is a little bit different than both Sam and John's because of the fact, so for me, I grew up in Scranton, Pennsylvania. Dunder Mifflin doesn't exist. There's just a sign on the outskirts of town. So with that, a lot of my friends and I already knew about a lot of colleges in our area. King's College, Wilkes University, Misericordia, East Stroudsburg was only right down the road. Bloomsburg was only 40 minutes from us. So we kind of knew all those schools. So when I started my college search process, I was like, I had a lot of friends that were applying to those schools. And I said, I just spent 14 years with you. I think, kind of need a little bit of break, need to meet new people. And at the time I was actually getting recruited for football. So I was hearing from schools that I never heard of. Even across the state, Grove City, St. Vincent's College outside of Pittsburgh. So I was kind of going through that recruitment process, but the recruitment process was actually in the back of my head because I really wanted to know, if football does end, will I be happy with where I go? So I'll never forget it. Got an invite to go to Lycoming College in Williamsport, PA. I went home from school that day and I looked at my mom and I said, Mom, I'm getting invited out. Where is Williamsport, Pennsylvania, and what the heck is Lycoming County? And my mom looked at me and said, Justin, you see it on TV every year, the Little League World Series. And then it clicked. I said, okay. So went out for my first visit. I'll never forget. I know the date like the back of my hand, February 19th, 2009. I made my first appearance on campus. We pulled into the parking lot of the recreation center. I got out of my mom's car and I just took a minute and took a deep breath and looked around, and my mom noticed something. She said she noticed it as soon as we got out of the car. She goes, what? I said, I don't know. I got this feeling. I'll get back to you at the end of the day. So we went through the whole visit, got to meet my admissions counselor, did a tour of campus, got to meet some students, some faculty members, also the recruiting end as well. So on the car ride home, I took a little bit of a nap because that's how I de-escalate, after, big events like that, I take a small little nap. And, I remember waking up in the car and my mom said, well, what'd you think? I said, that's where I'm going to school. It was just something about the campus that it clicked for me. The fact that it only sat on one city block. Downtown was literally a 5-minute walk from campus. You only had to cross 2 streets and you were right in downtown, but it wasn't like a huge city. And there's nothing wrong with huge cities. I'm just not a huge city person. And the fact that I can look and see downtown, but also see the vast mountains that surround our campus, I felt like I didn't leave Scranton at all. And I think that was one thing that made me feel more comfortable than anything. And then going through the day, getting to meet people that I had never met before in my entire life, and they were so friendly and so nice. And I'm not just talking the admissions office, I'm talking about every student that I interacted with that day. They were so nice and so welcoming and holding open doors and, asking how my day was going. It was just something that I wanted to be a part of. I just felt it in my bones that this was the place that I wanted to be. So when I finally made my decision, I just called the coach and told him I was coming. And then right after I told the coach, I called the admissions office and put my deposit down. And it was the best decision I ever made in my entire life. As Sam and John said, it truly is one of the greatest feelings when you finally make that decision of where you're going to go to college. During my time, yes, I did play football. But unfortunately, it's not even unfortunate. I was injured my freshman year, and I had to actually walk away from the game, and that was the decision that I made. But it wasn't a decision that, oh, now that I'm not playing football anymore, I need to transfer. No, I made my decision solely on, if football were to end because of some reason or another, am I going to love it here all 4 years? And I did. I actually got to announce over our student-run radio station, WRLC. Shout out to the Thunder. That's what our station is called here at Lycoming. I got to announce all of our home football, men's and women's basketball games. I joined a Greek life family in Lambda Chi Alpha. I was also part of our Colleges Against Cancer program, where we did Relay for Life every year, which was really, really awesome. And I did spend time as a tour guide in our admissions office. So during that process, I fell in love with the process of getting to meet with students and telling them my story of how I found it and just learning the process. So after I graduated, I did go into the radio field for about 2 years, and it was fun. Don't get me wrong. I loved it. It's what I went to school for. It's what I got my education in, but it was only a part-time job. And when you get older, you realize there are going to be bills to pay, even if you're living at your parents' house. Trust me, I still had a cell phone bill to pay and the car insurance and whatnot. So fortunately, there was a position to open here at Lycoming to become an admissions counselor. And, as I stated, I fell in love with that process when I was an undergrad. So the director, who was actually the gentleman who hired me as a tour guide, called me and said, listen, we have an opening and we would like for you to apply. So I applied, went through the process. I will say a little funny story about my interview. As you can see, I'm bald. Also, I have a beard. But my dad was like, you cannot go into an interview with a beard. It means you're hiding something, which I don't know. He's old school. But the weekend before my interview, I ran in a Spartan race, which is a really awesome obstacle course challenge. And unfortunately, sunscreen and I don't agree with one another. So I got really badly sunburned. And for those of you who don't know Spartan races, your bibs, for running, aren't on your shirt. They're a bandana on your head. So when I walked into my interview, top of my head was burned, my face was burned, freshly shaved beard gone, and I just had this white strap wrapped around my head. So that was my interview, and I still got hired. So it's all about how you present yourself in an interview. But I've been back with the college since 2015 as an admissions counselor. It has been an awesome journey because of the fact that, when you're in college, you're going to do a lot of growing. It's going to be a lot of, soul searching a little bit and, finding your place. And with that, the college around us has grown. And that's what I love most about Lycoming. We are one of the oldest colleges in the country. We were founded in 1812, and we are one of the 50 oldest colleges. And, with that, sometimes you need some upgrades. And the building that I'm currently sitting in is one of our upgrades. So it's cool to, go through that growing process, because there's a lot of stuff here now that wasn't here when I was a student, and it's made us a lot better. So it's just really cool to be part of that and just to be able to help you guys, because, one thing, and I think all of us can agree on, this is a very hard time for any high school student, COVID or not. This is a very life-changing decision that you're going to make, and we want to help you and make it as less stressful as possible. It's hard enough being a high school student, specifically a senior. You have a part-time job, you're going to school, you have your friendships that you want to take part of, your clubs, your organizations, your sports teams that you're a part of, your home life. That's just one of the things that I took pride in with becoming an admissions counselor, is my job to help you guys. It's not easy. We have all been in your shoes. We're not exaggerating. We were all seniors in high school at one point trying to figure out what the heck we were going to do for the rest of our lives. And we understand that it's very, very stressful. And I think that's another big reason why we all came into the game, was to help you guys and try to make it a little less stressful. So, but my experience was wonderful. I'm very happy that I'm in my 6th year now with working with Lycoming as a graduate, and now as being a full-time employee of the school. So that does it for my experience. I think we have some tricks and traits for you guys to go through. So I'll let John take over here now.
Thanks so much, Justin. Yeah,
You're
so
welcome.
we have a bunch of kind of tips and suggestions of like how to go through this process. So we're each going to go through, kind of give some discussion points. Please don't be afraid to throw some questions in the Q&A section. After we go through these tips and tricks, we are going to open it up for questions that we'll answer, whether it's specifically about our schools, about our thought process on how we made our decision, all those different questions we are happy to answer. So the first thing we kind of wanted to go through was pointing out that, like Justin said, this is a big time for you. This is a not easy process. So we really want you to take your time and think about what you truly are looking for and hoping for in a school. What is going to be necessary to you? What is it that you really want? What is it that, like, if a school has it, that's great, but if they don't have it, like, fine, like, I can still go. So my biggest tip with that is make a list. Make that pro-con chart that I was talking about that I made. All the things that I need to have, all the things that I would like to have, all the things that I do not want to see on my campus. And that will really allow for you to think about the campus in a way that you can very quantitatively think about them versus big picture. So it's just a nice additional layer to making that thought process work in a way that is going to get you to the point that is going to give you the best experience possible.
Yeah, and then on top of that, checking the stats of the schools that you are interested in. So after you make that list of schools that you may be interested in looking at and kind of deciding if they have the major and what you might be interested in, take a look at the school's size. Size not only involves like population of student body, but also student to professor ratio, classroom sizes, how many students might be in like a gen ed course, if those colleges even have like general education based courses that are in large lecture halls, or are they smaller. Check out diversity and seeing how diverse a campus might be. What is the resident to commuter population? How many students live on campus every year versus commuters? Does that school offer or guarantee living on campus all 4 years? Depending on where you're looking, that's going to be a nice factor to look into. Also, outcomes after graduation. Pay attention to those percentages. All schools will have these posted on websites, by the way, but you want to pay attention to what is the percentage of students that graduate that are employed 6 months to a year after graduation. How many of those students may be pursuing additional degrees? Taking a look at all of that. And again, when I say it's on the website, it is on every college and university's website at some point. And it could be as simple as Googling, Cabrini fast facts. And the first or second link will most likely be Cabrini's fast facts about the institution that incoming freshmen might be looking at. And if you did the same for University of Delaware or Lycoming, it's going to be the same thing. So try looking at all of those as well to sort of determine what you may be looking at in terms of population. Also location. Pay attention to where the school is located. UDEL, Cabrini, and Lycoming are all vastly different in terms of where the schools are located, which I would argue gave us each a very different outcome in terms of what we were able to do and what we got involved in, and maybe even why we made that decision in the first place. So if you want a city, you're not necessarily going to be looking at Lycoming, whereas if I didn't want to look in the city, so I would be more prone to look at Cabrini or Lycoming versus UDEL. So try to keep that all in mind while you're going through the process.
Another big thing specifically for this year, try and see what opportunities there are to get onto a college campus. We understand that right now, very, very uncertain times. And with that, there may not be as many opportunities. But if you see a school that you know that you would like to apply to, and you want to visit, and they have those in-person visits, sign up for them. It would be great. The school is not asking you to sign up because you're going to go and get asked to drive around campus. They're going to have their ways of how they're going to want you to visit. And for us, that's one of the things we have been having visitors. So please look into that. If they offer a virtual option, take that as well. Because there's been, specifically with COVID going on, a lot of admissions offices have had to think on the fly and kind of do things differently, and they're doing it to the best of their ability. And some of the virtual visits, and I've seen a couple out there, they are spectacular, and just a hats off to the admissions teams in those institutions. So if you want to see a campus, if this is the first time you're hearing about Cabrini, UDel, or Lycoming, and you want to go see those schools, try to see what they have. But yeah, that if they're available, try the in-person visit. If not, do the virtual end.
And kind of tied to that, a lot of schools more and more are offering opportunities for students to connect one-on-one with their admissions counselors. And I really think that's a big deal. I try to offer as many opportunities as I can for my students. And the reason for me thinking that this is a big deal, and I'm sure Sam and Justin agree with this, is that we're here to help counsel. That's part of our title, and that's why we're working in these offices. As much as we work for our specific university, we're also here as just another layer to the support and guidance that you hopefully have as a student looking for colleges. We're here to answer those questions about the type of food that is offered on campus, or the types of courses that you can take, or how big is the campus, and why do you have 350 acres of farmland on your as part of your property, which yes, University of Delaware does. Just a little plug if you're interested in ag. We are trying to be these knowledge bases and offer as many opportunities as possible. And so if there's a virtual or in-person option to be able to interact with us and get your specific questions answered, please take it. We're offering it because we want to be able to interact with you, to talk with you, and make sure that you're making the right decision in applying to our school. We also don't want you to waste your money and your time applying to a university that isn't going to be able to offer you the opportunities that you want to have. So by having those conversations with us, we can very explicitly say, unfortunately, no, we don't have it. But because we've all worked in the university setting for at least 2 years, if not more, we have connections to outside of our university and might be able to say, well, UD doesn't offer that, but I know Cabrini does. And so we can try to point you in the direction, because we want to make sure you're making the best decisions possible.
And then in addition to that, try to pay attention to what might be going on in terms of special college fairs or events that are happening, both within the state or region and also within the different colleges and universities that you may be looking at. The StriveScan PACAC virtual events are a great example, and kudos to all of you students for taking time out of potential virtual learning to come on and listen to not just maybe our presentation, but get an idea of what other colleges and universities may be doing, and just learning more about the college process, because I know this can be really overwhelming and really tiring to sit in front of a computer screen consistently. But there are virtual college fairs happening, and the best resource to find out if there are any college fairs happening in your area and how to sign up is to go through your college counselor. Your college in the college counseling office, your high school guidance counselors, they're going to be the ones that you should absolutely be utilizing in this moment to look for those type of events. Additional events that are going to be happening are going to be virtual open houses. There are plenty of colleges and universities that are taking what would have hopefully been in-person events and moving them into a virtual format to accommodate for the social distancing measures and regulations surrounding COVID-19. And we want to make sure, but we still want to make sure that as college representatives, we're giving you all the information necessary. So try to see if you have maybe 5 to 6 different institutions that you're looking at, see if they're doing any virtual open houses, because those open houses, I can almost guarantee you, are going to have opportunities for you to not only see campus from a virtual standpoint and not only speak to your admissions representative, but also talk to faculty in the department that you're interested in, and also get a sense of what the current students are doing, because the best advice, and well, the next best person to get advice from and to hear about the college or university besides your admissions representative are the current students at that college or university that you are looking at. And they will have student representatives at virtual open houses, and they're awesome opportunities for you to get more information about the college that you might not be able to get in just a simple visit.
And one thing is to think about the values you have as a person and what that school can offer. Again, you're going to be meeting some newer people when you go to these institutions. So make sure that they're lining up with stuff that you want to see. Because you don't, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but you don't want to be an outline. You don't want to be someone who is just struggling. Make sure that what you believe in and what you feel is true in terms of your education are there for you. And make sure that, you know, you like the people that you're going to go to school with, because if you don't, it's going to be a long 4 years. So just make sure during your time, you're asking questions to those students. And if you even get that opportunity, that's a big thing. So while you're there, make sure your values line up, which is very, very big.
And beyond just your personal values, you also have to think about your financial values. Sam talked about this earlier and when she was talking about her search process, but finances are a big part about finding the right university that you're going to attend. One thing that we always had when we talked about finding your fit at a university was talking about it's not only your social fit or your academic fit, but it's also your financial fit. And so one of the really great things that the Obama administration did was required all universities to provide students access to a net price calculator. So this is basically the opportunity for you to calculate an estimated cost of attendance to a university. It's of course not going to be perfect, but it is going to give you a general idea of, might I earn some merit scholarship? Might I earn some need-based financial aid? And these are all things that are going to be accessible. If you simply search for a university name and then include net price calculator, within the first couple links, it should pop up that it's going to be there. This is really a fantastic resource that I think everyone should utilize, because the sticker price on a university is very rarely actually the price that you're going to pay, in part because there's going to be additional fees that may come into play from textbooks and food and all those different things that you're going to do off campus. But then there's also going to be possible discounts that come into play from scholarship packages, from receiving loans from the university and from the federal government. And so this is a really helpful resource to get you thinking, this might actually be a financially valuable solution for my decision-making process. And so I do want to just cover some words that I just mentioned because they are important for you to know. The merit scholarship is something that a university will provide based on your academic success at the high school level. Some may include standardized testing, some may only include your high school transcript, some may take a more holistic approach and review other parts of your application to include in a scholarship package. Sometimes it has to do with music or performing arts that you might get a little bit of extra money from that. FAFSA is the, wow, I'm really going to blank on this right now. That's really great. Sam, I see you like twitching. Do you know it?
Great application for student aid.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm so glad that this is recorded and everyone's going to see me forget this now. So basically, this is an application that you are able to submit and send to any school within the United States for consideration of need-based aid. You'll be able to be considered for grants, for loans, and for other forms of scholarship funding that the university is able to provide based on an expected financial contribution that the FAFSA will calculate. Another need-based form that you may have to submit is the CSS profile. This is a website that universities may use, because it will provide additional information to them and possibly calculate a better expected financial contribution. I definitely recommend making sure to check our all university financial aid websites to see what they require, because some schools require some documents, some schools require others, some don't require any at all. So it's really important to check to see what the deadlines are and what the information they need from you is.
Okay, and we do have about 4 minutes left before the end of the presentation, so I'm just going to kind of do a brief overview of the last 3 and then let Justin finish it off. So we've said this a lot, but please utilize the admissions office as representatives of our universities. We represent different counties or states in the recruitment process. Find your counselor, ask them questions, give them a call, send them a voicemail, send a text message if that's available. No question is too silly or too out there. We have heard it all, I promise you. And we are here to answer every question possible. We can answer questions about career services and what the schools have to offer in terms of not only during your 4 years internships and possible work study opportunities, but also post-grad, what those schools tend to offer. And then paying attention to social media platforms in this not only just virtual world, but in the world of your generation as college students, you're utilizing social media a lot more. See what schools have social media accounts. I see a lot more admissions offices now having TikTok than ever before, and I think that's incredible. I don't know how to work TikTok, but I still think it's amazing. But look at that. See what schools are posting, what their universities are sharing, what students that go to those institutions are sharing on their personal pages as well. But overall, this is just a lot of information to help you as students figure out what is the best school for you. Now, I will let Justin wrap it up.
Thank you, Sam. And overall, guys, through this entire process, from beginning to end, have fun, don't stress. The college process is a roller coaster ride, with the peak being accepted, and then the end of the ride is you coming to one of our campuses or whatever college or university that you choose. So please do not be stressed. If you ever have any questions, as we've said throughout this entire presentation, please do not hesitate to ask those. So have fun through this. This is your time to shine. This is a very important process in your life, so enjoy it.
All right, and so we are going to take questions for the last couple minutes. If anyone has anything, we are also going to include our contact information. So if any of you want to reach us at any given point, even after this presentation is ended, if you're watching this as a recording later on, please reach out to us. We're more than happy to give you information, answer any questions that you have. And if we're not your specific admissions representative for where you live, we will make sure that we are able to connect you with who is the representative. So please reach out to us by email, by phone. Some of us take text messages, some of us don't. So I would recommend either calling or emailing at first, and then you'll know if you can text us. But yeah, if any of you have any questions, I know we have like a minute left. Otherwise, thank you all for coming to our panel today. We hope it was informative. We hope it was helpful. And on behalf of everyone here, thank you for coming to PACAC's College Fair Exposition, and we hope that you attend more.
Yes, and when you do finally exit out, there will be just a quick 4-question survey. We'll appreciate any feedback you have. And don't forget that there are still sessions like this where there is a topic to discuss, and there are also school-specific sessions to attend now through November 6th. So just go to pacac.org/virtual, and that's also where all of the recordings will be. So again, thank you to the panelists. Thank you to all the students. Feel free to reach out to any of them at any point in time. They will be of great help. And we thank you so much and have a wonderful week. Bye, everyone.